Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, would've, could've, should've, but what do we really have? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, and well, how you doing, buddy?
A lot better than the Flyers, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you on that on the show this week. Would have, could have, should have, but what do we really have? That's right. We're looking at episode 62 here with the great writer extraordinaire. Let me rephrase that. The great beat writer extraordinaire. Do you like that?
There you go.
You like that rephrase? All right. Well, that's what I'm running with anyway. And I'm going to tell you what here, folks. Lance, you put out two great articles again this week that basically just knock it out of the park again. You touch on every single thing that not only we have been talking about over the last couple of weeks on the show, but what we've been kind of like what we've been building to, like where we're getting at, what the crescendo, we're kind of coming to that. You know what I mean? It's like you're building to this point here, and these last two articles that you wrote, I think are really kind of doing that, are really bringing us to that crescendo. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So the very first article that we were awesomely graced with was posted not too long ago here, just a couple of days ago, but still very fresh. And what could have been if the Flyers' former GM, Ron Hextall, had only listened. And, Lance, this article just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I got a lot of feedback with this article. A lot of people didn't want to relive that or read into just what could have been. As the show title alludes to. But the fact of the matter is, Ron Hextall was supposed to come in and be this big draft guru, and the farm system just doesn't prove that with what he was left, what he left us with. Of course, there was a couple pieces, with Hart and everything that seemed to work out, and Farabee. But not much more after that. So there's a lot of things that could have been. There's a lot of things that people really didn't know about Hextall and the type of stuff that he did while he was here. Like the article says, there was a lot to it. He was a bit of a control freak that got kind of released and after he was released from his job here in Philly. He didn't let any of the players' kids in the locker room before or after the game.
Yeah,
or practices. He even tried to control what we're going to eat for pregame meals. Just a lot of different stuff that, maybe a person that went to school for that, could have been doing and is paid to do, as far as that. And of course, what Bob Clark really let out of the bag just a week or so ago, in the fact that, he really didn't care to listen to his scouting department. And that really hurt us over the years. So, I mean, he really was secluded towards the end. He backed himself into the corner and kind of kept everything close to the vest when it came to what he was going to do with the team. He wasn't speaking to Paul Holmgren much. He wasn't telling him what was going on, even though they wanted him to do that. He insisted on not firing, Dave Hextall, even when management was telling him it was time.
Yeah.
and really just stayed with his assistant GM, and they wrote out all the decisions right into the end until, management just got tired of it and let him go. So a lot of mistakes, as a first time NHL GM that he made, and to his credit, he is my favorite player of all time. Like everybody knows, I'm a goaltender. I modeled my game after him, and still do. I'm very aggressive in net, and good Lord, yeah, led the team in penalty minutes, fighting majors and suspensions, all that
Just
good
like Ron Hextall did.
just like Ron Hextall did, and still play that way today in the beer league. So, to
There's two reasons why people watch. Let me rephrase. There's three reasons why people watch the Philadelphia Flyers. All right. Number one was Bernie Perrant. Number two was Bob Clark. And number three was Ron Hextall. Okay, seriously. He was the first goalie to score in a playoff game. I mean, that was unheard of, what he did. The fact that he skated to the other end of the ice to drop gloves with the other goalie. I mean, who does that?
Felix Potvin, yeah.
Okay, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is this. I am so with you on Ron Hextall being one of my favorite all-time Philadelphia Flyers. And I really, really, really had a lot of hope for him coming in as the general manager because he had such a great track record in LA,
yeah.
In LA, right? So as an assistant GM, right? So you put two cups. Okay, so what did you kind of drink the wrong water when you got to Philly there, Mr. Hextall, or what bloody happened, man? I mean, like, it's almost like when he got here, the tires fell off. He was controlling of what the guys were trying to do. He was trying to keep families off the ice. He didn't listen to scouts. All these kinds of things. I would like to know what happened when he was the assistant general manager in LA.
Well, I mean, you could ask Dean Lombardi, who's here. He's still in the management's box with the Flyers, and he was the GM out there. So there's still LA ties here for sure.
So I mean, I don't understand how is it that a guy who, and I'm with you on this, and you point this out very poignantly in your article. Ron Hextall was supposed to be this analytics new wave gonna focus on the Corsi numbers and focus on the analytics and get us the best players and have the best training regimes because of the analytics and blah 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 blah. None of that ever came to fruition. In fact,
good propaganda, yeah.
None of that came to fruition. In fact, if you look at the development system for the Flyers right now, it's stunted. Because as you pointed out, the number of players that had come up through the junior ranks that were these phenomenal scorers that put up these huge numbers. And juniors, they get to the Flyers, and then it's like crickets and tumbleweeds.
Yeah, I mean, Frost is one of them. Radcliffe is one of them. Frost was a 100-point scorer twice over. Radcliffe 50-goal scorer. I mean,
I mean,
now
you could even
he
say
can't even score
Couturier. You
anything.
could put Couturier in that group too.
Well, you
I mean,
could
even
put
though he wasn't necessarily grabbed by Hextall, do you know what I mean? He just kind of propagated it by letting him still play that way. You know what I mean?
I don't see how he really went about it as a goaltender. I think you would want defensemen like Carolina has right now, or Tampa Bay, who are strong defensive players first, and then. But he went out and got everybody who could score goals, and Shane
Not play defense.
Gostisbehere's, and Philip Myers and Sandheims and all that. Well, that's all well and good, but you got to be able to defend first, and the more goals you prevent, the better chance you have to win a game. But I don't know. I really don't know. With all that, it has to lead to where it is today, and it's just frustrating when you look at where the Flyers could be, and with some of the players mentioned in this article, that of course, it's easy to sit back, 5-10 years removed now, a little less from that, some of these picks, and play, couch cushion GM, as I call
Yeah,
it.
I mean, that's what you said in the article.
We should have drafted this guy. We should have drafted that guy. But the
Right.
fact of the matter is, we don't have anybody really showing these type of numbers that are gonna take over the reins from Claude Giroux after the season. We have
nothing. We
We
have
have
nothing.
nothing.
We don't even have, in fact, the only two #1 draft picks that the team has had since when JVR was picked in 2010 or whatever, 2000, whatever he was picked in the first round.
Off the top of my head, yeah.
Right, yeah. Whenever JVR was the last best first round pick, and then we got Nolan Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So those are really the only two first round draft picks that the Philadelphia Flyers have had in the last, since JVR. Right.
Provorov was 7th overall or something like that.
Right, and I think Couturier was like in the teens.
He's pretty high up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So that's not all Hextall. Hextall didn't pick Couturier. Right. You know what I mean? He didn't pick a #1 player. He picked Nolan Patrick was his #1 player. He missed the first 25 games of this year, and I think he's now starting to play again with Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, he
had a nice goal the other night, but yeah, that's
right.
Few and far between when you're not on the ice. So
as a #1 draft pick, like 2nd overall.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why New Jersey didn't pick him.
Right.
Why did we?
Well, we picked him because, as Bob Clark said, Hextall refused to listen to the scouting department. The scouting department wanted to pass over him because of his extensive injury history. He was injured when we drafted him. Yeah.
He was drafted injured.
He was drafted injured and immediately had to have surgery.
Core muscle surgery.
Right. So we started off on a bad foot there even. But, the scouting department wanted Cal Maker. So Mark, Makar, and he went to Colorado. So it's just frustrating, on what it could have been. And to start out, I mean, you look at the list there, even with Sandheim, his first choice when he was a GM, his first pick was Travis Sandheim, and Sandheim's been a decent defenseman, not my favorite player by any means. Nope. I think he's too offensive minded, and he's far too not physical at all, and
not at all,
not defensive minded.
Gets pushed off the puck very easy. I mean, with the slightest little nudge,
it doesn't clear the front of the porch, all that stuff, and so we look at that, and Sandheim was drafted 17th overall, and a guy Boston drafted 25th overall that year was Pastrnak. So yeah, we see where that's been. Multiple great seasons. Marchard Rocket Richard Trophy for most goals, in a single season. Just ridiculous numbers for this guy, and he's a Flyers killer, of course.
Well, because he wasn't picked by the Flyers, so
Well,
everybody
yeah,
that's not picked by the Flyers kills the Flyers. I mean, come on. It just seems like it's not just the Ron Hextalls of the Philadelphia Flyers. It's
hmm
not just the general managers.
right.
We pointed this out in a couple of shows ago, and we talked about what we would do with the team if we had the power of the stroke of the pen. What we would do with the Flyers, and we basically said that we would start from scratch. We would just go into the building and just say, "All right, everybody, leave. Thanks. It's been a slice. Appreciate your time, but we're gonna hire new people because whatever they got going on there in Philadelphia is not working, and whatever they got going on there in Philadelphia is not getting it done. And you can't just keep bringing in a new coach and bringing in a new GM. You got to change that culture there, and everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about it. Ron Hextall, when he came in, he was like, "Yeah, we're going to change the culture when we come in here. We're going to be a different team and blah, 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 and this and that." Chuck Fletcher said the same thing. "Yeah, we're going to change the culture in here. We're going to be a different team." And he brought in an AV guy, and AV was like, "Be an effing Flyer." And, "Hey, all right, we're changing the culture." And, yeah, the culture you changed was to make us lose more.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating for sure. Really out of answers here.
Exactly.
Just need to do something, and change everything, like you said, from the ground up, like we said for so long. And that's what I got from a lot of this. They need to really get rid of Holmgren and stuff as well, and start there as from the top, if you want to work from the top down or from the bottom, and the
Yeah,
player
right.
development and the scouting and all that good stuff too, and throw them right out the door. So either or,
Yeah.
a fire sale needs to happen. So yeah, I don't know.
That's what I think. That's what I think it needs to be, a fire sale. See, now with one general manager that you got to talk about quite extensively in this article,
Mm-hmm.
I, I really thought, wow, man, look at all these guys that Ron Hextall was bringing in, and I was really excited. I really thought that there was a crop of young players that were going to come in here and be the next wave for the Philadelphia Flyers, and they just weren't. By any stretch of the word, they just weren't. Okay, I mean, not even close. I mean, some of these guys are still fighting to get into the AHL. Some of these guys are still fighting to even get ECHL time or whatever. I mean, what is the deal here?
It's like we said, it's the same old song and dance here in Philadelphia. And it hasn't changed under Chuck Fletcher either. And I think the latest person being, that same Frost or Radcliffe, talent that was an absolute talent in juniors and everything else, is Tyson Forster. If you look now, that's a Chuck Fletcher guy, a guy I said in my mock draft articles as well that the Flyers should draft, an elite talent with an amazing shot, that tore apart the OHL, and he's just struggling. He's struggling, with the Phantoms this year. He hasn't played in a ton of games, but it seems to be that everybody that doesn't just go straight to the Flyers, like Provorov or Couturier or
Yeah.
Farabee only had a quick stint. Even
Same thing with Hart. Yeah.
Carter Hart, TK, jumped up real quick. If they're that good to just skip the Phantoms or play there for a few games and move on,
What are they doing down there?
Things turn out good, but if a guy needs to develop a little bit more after he signs his entry deal and comes to the Phantoms, it's just like a desolate hole that they fall into, and their development just stops.
Do you know what's really sad is that the previous coach of the Phantoms, right, Scott Gordon, was a really good coach.
Right.
A really good developmental type coach, like taught system, you know what I mean, was accountable, made guys accountable. I mean, the team was playing really well under him. Okay. And quite honestly, I think he got the short end of the stick when he was brought in as an interim head coach and then not given a shot as the head coach to stay on as the head coach, and then basically put back down and as the head coach of the Phantoms. So that, I think, soiled that relationship with him, because he should have been, he could have been a great coach for the Flyers, I think. I think if he would have been given an opportunity and a team, he has good system. I mean, I know in his half a season that he was the coach, he didn't do that horrible. I mean, he basically had the carousel of goalies to deal with. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say what could have been with him. At most, I thought he would be back this season to be with the Phantoms. When I heard the news that he wasn't going to be, I thought that he must be getting maybe an assistant coaching job for another team at the NHL level. To leave upright and leave the head coaching position or be removed from it. I just thought he was, been asked and going to take his talents elsewhere. And, I was happy for him if that was the case. But I don't know, just to replace him with Ian LaPerriere, and I don't know. It's just struggling to wrap my head around some of the Flyers moves recently, and I think everybody is at this point.
Yeah. So speaking of recently, Lance, your second great article that you put out. So you put out an article like you put out 2 articles within the span of 4 days. 3 days, actually. Right. So the second article, which was just yesterday, was posted yesterday on Flyers Nitty Gritty website.com. Got to go check that out for sure. Both articles are posted on the Flyers Nitty Gritty.com website, so you got to go check that out. But this article here kind of brings us back into lockstep with the current Flyers. We talked about Ron Hextall as the past GM and past Flyer general manager. And now this article here you wrote about the current general manager with Chuck Fletcher helping to create the problem with why should he be part of the solution. And good gravy, Lance. I'm so glad you wrote this article, man. I'm so glad. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Because why? We're going to get into some things that we heard just recently the other day when they did their press conference, but I want to get into a little bit of this article here. And sure. I am not going to sit here and say that Chuck Fletcher hasn't done a few good things for this organization, because every general manager that's been here has done 1 or 2 good things. Let's face it. Okay. They've all done 1 or 2 good things, but it's just, does your bad things outweigh your good things? You know what I mean?
For sure.
So in this article here with Chuck Fletcher helping to create the problem, why should he be part of the solution? What was the inspiration behind this one, Lance?
Yeah, it was just got me thinking. At the game, I was there against the Stars when they played the Stars, and I was sitting up in the press box, and I tweeted it out, but I saw Danny Briere sitting there with Chuck Fletcher and Brent Flair, and interesting being that the Flyers have basically been grooming him for a long time. They've asked him to and kind of hinted at that he should go back to college, and he went back and got his degree at Wharton School of Finance, the Harvard or Yale.
Yeah,
finances.
that's pretty
That's the big one.
prestigious school there, by the way.
It's a super prestigious school for finance. So he's, working on his master's there. Different other classes as well in negotiation techniques and stuff like that he's taking. They set him up with a job where Comcast owns, the team with the ECHL that he's now being, the GM of.
Yeah.
They placed him in that so he can get some interest in there. And now you're seeing him at Flyers games in box with Chuck Fletcher, a long way from just being a player development coach in a short amount of time with the Flyers. So that's interesting in my mind, and especially since Montreal was hot and heavy over him for a candidate of their own.
That would have been good, I thought. Yeah.
So not really a whole lot of experience, but the way the Flyers seem to be grooming him is, they got to have some kind of, thought process or plan for him in the future in this token, because they are definitely grooming him to be, the next GM in this case. But, with this article, it got me thinking after seeing him there is, the team's now 13 game losing streak right now.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Woo, doggies.
So with that in mind, you have the trade deadline looming ever closer, and
March.
Yep. So, at this point, Chuck Fletcher has made some, good moves. He's made some bad moves. But the one in my mind that should be the nail in the coffin is the Ryan Ellis, trade. And not so much for what we gave away, but for what we got in return. You brought in a guy that he's played 10, 11 seasons in the NHL, and he's been healthy for an 82 game season once in his career.
I mean, he's only played about 75% of the games since he's played that 182 game season.
Yeah, I mean, he's only has 182 game season, full complete season where he didn't miss a game one time in his career. And it's a lot of money to be paying a guy to sit up in the press box who, I get to sit right next to up there and watch, this guy.
Really?
This guy making, along with Kevin Hayes and everybody else that's injured right now, a slew of people that were up there the last game that I attended. So it's just interesting to see all these guys that Chuck brought in, paying them big time money, just sitting up in the press box. Kevin Hayes is out hurt again. And a lot of these older guys, Brassard and everything that he brought in, and Braun and Yandel and, Jones, Thompson, all these guys are old and older and, past their prime pretty much, besides Jones. But, he's no spring chicken either. And all of them are unrestricted free agents. All of them are guys that, maybe you shouldn't have filled the roster with, Chuck. This is still the same Flyers course of action that we talked about previous shows with, trying to go out and get somebody that used to be good at one time in their career.
Keyword is used to be. At one time in their career.
Right. So it got me thinking, with the trade deadline looming and Danny Briere sitting there and all this stuff, why should Chuck, he was part of the problem here, created the situation that we're in. Granted, there's a lot of injuries and COVID going on, but all that is, the same stuff that every other team has to deal with right now. Facts, facts. And why shouldn't somebody else be able to come in. Now, as far as the Flyers fan base and what I see, the fan base wants to see him gone, and I think he should be at this point. I think we need to tear it all down and start new. And so why should he still be hanging around? He created this problem. Why should he be part of this liquidation sale at the end of the season? Dave Scott already came out and said that he thinks he wants to keep Chuck Fletcher around, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But why should he stay around if he's created this problem? Why should he be part of this solution? Why should he sell off things or pieces that a potential new GM could covet?
Right.
So that got me thinking.
Right. Okay. So let's look at a couple things here. Okay. Let's break this down a little bit. All right. Chuck Fletcher has done an admirable job in drafting some pretty good players to come to the Flyers.
Mid to late round talents, yes.
Yes. Okay. Which is basically where he gets to pick. Okay. So if anything, I would say Chuck's strength is definitely drafting, because Tyson Forster is a pretty good talent. Zade Wisdom is pretty good talent. Cam York, pretty good talent. Zamula, pretty good talent. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think
Elliot Dejournay,
Elliot McLennan. I think he's done well in that area as far as getting those type of players in the draft. Where I think he has utterly, completely face planted is in all of his free agent moves. But every single one of them has been fraught with, really, you sign Braun to a 2-year extension, $3 million a year. Really. You bring Nate Thompson back again. Okay. Derek Brassard, great playoff guy, but really, what's he doing here?
Keith Yandel, yeah, he's getting
Keith Yandel, great. He's got the Iron Man streak, and all power to him. He's a great team player, and
he's
all
like
that.
Minus 23 right now this season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's kind of being a liability for the team. You brought all these woulda, coulda, shoulda guys in. And then you kind of hung your hat on the Ryan Ellis move, and you kind of hung your hat on the Ristolainen move, you know what I mean? And you kind of hung your hat on re-signing Sanheim and Braun and these other cats, right? And then you said, all right, this is our team. We're better now. Let's go.
I like Cam Atkinson move. You got rid of Voracek, who was basically Drew 2.0. You brought in a scorer. I like that. That was a strong move. But yeah, Ristolainen, I like his style of play and everything. But if you're going to re-sign him for anything close to what he is getting currently, I think it's a bad move. I think he needs to be, 3.75 a year to $4 million. I think that's where his value is. I have
no confidence in Chuck Fletcher to give him a deal that he should be getting. I have every confidence in Chuck Fletcher overpaying Ristolainen so that he stays in Philly. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, right? Yep. That's been the Phillies' MO, or the Flyers' MO, ever since. You overpay for a guy so he stays here. You know what I mean? I mean, seriously, why are you paying these guys all this stupid amount of money for them to be? I mean,
Philadelphia, it's a hard fan base because we know the sport and we're passionate about it. But we're not the Arizona Coyotes who are going to be playing in they're getting kicked out of their own stadium and can't bring people.
Got to go hit up the college team up the road to see, hey, can we borrow your stadium for a while?
I think they're going to play in a 5,000 seat stadium for the next couple of years until they build a new one.
Arizona State University.
So, that's ridiculous. Come on, man. This is an NHL franchise. It's not that. Like, the Flyers are a good, strong, or were a good, strong, team with a great fan base that loves the sport. every player that does come here stays after they retire, even the ones from, different countries and
Yeah,
stuff
like they
stay
come and
over
hang
here a
out and
lot of
stay.
times,
Yeah.
because, they're adored by their fans and they're, demigods or something that walk around Philadelphia and they're treated as such.
Hmm.
So, I don't see such a hard sell and why we have to overpay, free agents to come here. I don't see that. Maybe after this season, the way it's going, but I don't get it.
Well, the other problem now is going to be you basically put yourself back into a hole again, Chuck, because now you're cap strapped. I mean, there's $42,000 they have available, and $42,000 doesn't even pay the puck boy his yearly salary. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're not going to get much for that. And let's face it, you're not going to get anything for JVR. You're not going to get anything for Hayes. You're not going to get anything for any of the players on this team, even a contender, like you pointed out in your article. There's no contender that's going to look at Derek Brassard and be like, yeah, we need that guy on our team. He's going to put us over the edge. They're not going to look at a Justin Braun and go, yeah, man, look at all that guy's playoff experience. That's the guy we need. He's going to help us win the cup. Yeah, we can take on Justin Braun. They're not going to look at JVR and go, yeah, man, that's the guy we need. He's going to be our depth scoring and $7 million. We can eat that, no problem, or half of that, or whatever you want to call it. There's just no team out there that's going to take those players.
I don't know why Jones is not an Edmonton Oiler yet. Really, they're still thinking they're kind of want to try to get back into the hunt, and their goaltending is spouting off comments and all kinds of stuff. They need somebody. I don't know why. I hear Edmonton is not willing to give up a first or a second round pick for a goaltender. But there's teams out there. The Washington Capitals are also looking for a goalie too.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
There's teams out there. You should be starting to liquidate assets here, and
they're not. They're sitting on their hands and they're just doing nothing. And
yeah, it's only gonna get worse. I mean, as you keep losing games, your pieces are gonna look less and less valuable.
And that's going to be the big problem. When your pieces are less valuable, then nobody wants them, and then nobody wants to going to come and play here because you're not winning. You're not trying to win, and you're not showing any of the fan base. You're not showing any of the players. You're not even showing. I mean, if you can't show the players that you're trying to win, then nobody wants to just going to want to come and play here, and you're going to end up like Arizona, or you're going to end up like, a team like that where, I mean, I'm not saying that Philadelphia is going to end up like Arizona. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that if the Flyers don't do something now to coin a very old phrase, nip it in the bud now and do it now. Do it. Why wait another month and 3 weeks, because that's when the trade deadline is, a month and 3 weeks from now, March 21st. Why wait? That's almost the end of the season. You got a huge opportunity coming up here where you're going to have a big break. Philadelphia is going to have not a lot of games to play, and they're going to play a couple of games, but not a lot over that span of the break time. Do you know what I mean? They're going to go They're going to go a couple of nights in a row, and then they're going to go a couple of nights where they're not going to play games. Okay, because they only have, I think, 5 or 6 games total to make up. Right? So they're going to have a break. Why not make the move now, like tomorrow now, and just get all new people in here, or take that time now, because it's the 27th of January. Do you know what I mean? And take the time now, because you're going to have a break coming up, and the All-Star break, and then whatever, and bring in the new blood so they can have an opportunity to take a look at what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree totally. I think that if it were me, I think I'd fire Chuck Fletcher now and try to bring in a guy so he can evaluate his own talent before the trade deadline and see what he has and see what he wants to keep and see what he wants to get rid of. But it looks like, the Flyers are just going to continue on in mediocrity and have Chuck Fletcher come back. But, my thing is the fans are going to do something. If you've been to a game or if you've watched on TV and they do a span of the crowd, I'm telling you guys, it looks like the Arizona Coyotes or a Florida Panther game when it's 85 degrees outside in January, because there's nobody in the stands right now. There's nobody in the stands right now. And it's the only way that the fans are going to get through to this ownership, this corporate run ownership, that they're fed up and they're tired of it because money talks, and there is absolutely nobody. It was easy as pie getting out of that stadium after the game.
Yeah,
I felt like it was back when nobody was allowed in the stands and just the press. And I was there down on the lower levels watching the game, and they were pumping in crowd noises again because I just got right out and went on 95 and headed right on home. Easy as anything, and that's scary for a home game to be that desolate and empty. It's a sad state of affairs right now for the Flyers. Sure.
Exactly. I think that's going to lead us exactly into the press conference that took place the other day with the Flyers coming out with Dave Scott sitting there with
Chuck Fletcher.
Chuck Fletcher. And I believe they sat there and talked for probably about a good 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good 30 minutes. Okay. And Dave Scott addressed and said his piece, and then Chuck Fletcher came out and said his piece, and then they answered a lot of questions.
So my take on it. Well, just give you my take, and then you.
I was getting ready to. I was just going to ask you. I was just going to say. So, after everything was all said and done, after the 30 minutes of the press conference and everything, what is your assessment of what Dave Scott said and what Chuck Fletcher said?
So basically everything that Flyer fans didn't want to hear. Dave Scott, first and foremost, said that he thinks Chuck's pretty good. He likes the way he talks and communicates, and he thinks he deserves a fair shot to fix the problem, if you will. So that's definitely not what I or most fans wanted to hear. Chuck came out and said that he's not going to tear it all down. He wants to retool rather than totally rebuild from the ground up. That's not what most Flyer fans want to hear right now. Comcast came out and said they have no interest in selling this franchise, which is not what most fans want to hear right now. And to that effect, I don't think Paul Holmgren's going anywhere, which is another problem. So a lot of
not very many good things were said during this press conference, were there?
A lot of inflated promises and everything like that, and we'll do better next year's, or we're going to try really hard. What we've heard at the end of every season as the Flyers are, packing up their hockey equipment and grabbing their golf clubs. So.
Okay. Here's what I heard from this press conference. I heard an excuse coupled with an excuse followed by an excuse. And then I heard a bunch of hot air followed by even more hot air followed by even more hot air. Now, you cannot sit there and seriously tell me that you look at what's going on right now and think that there's some good things that are going on here. How do you look at that and think there's some good things going on here and that you're happy with the way this person communicates with you? Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, seriously, I am. All right, tell me something, Comcast Dave Scott / Chuck Fletcher. How many games have we won in December? How many games have we won in January? Where are we going right now? Where is this team headed? Where are we at in the standings right now? How's our power play look? How are we playing 5-on-5? What's the guys' names that are hanging from the banners of the Wells Fargo Center? Who are those guys? Right? You notice how I hear crickets and tumbleweeds to all of these answers, all these questions. I'm not going to hear any of those answers to any of these questions based off of what they said in that press conference in any of the near future. Because if they're calling this and I'm going to quote Mr. Scott saying that this is not a 3, 4, 5 year plan. This is we're trying to get this done in, much shorter time. And, we're only 2 or 3 players away.
Yeah, that's a farce for sure.
Where have we heard that before in Philadelphia? We're just 1 or 2 players away from being there. What other general manager had that kind of thinking? Yeah, he used to play for the Flyers, right? He was the guy that came out and said that some other general manager wasn't doing a good job when look what he did. I'm not mentioning any names here or anything. Bobby Clark. One of my all-time favorite players. I still have his hockey stick over there in the corner of my room, okay? So, but I'm just calling it like I see it, and what I'm seeing is kind of really yucky. If you know what I mean? It's really yucky. And it doesn't look like you can just keep painting over the yuck. Okay, you can't. You can't just bring in 1 or 2 little free agents here and there to keep painting over the yuck. You gotta. Here's another question I have too. Why is it that every single one of the players that have had injuries are the same injuries? Why is it that Giroux, Couturier, Ellis, Hayes, every single one of these guys have all had the same type of injury that's all been core injury or hip injury or whatever the case is?
Wade Allison,
every single one of these guys, and from all the way back, even Voracek had it too. Okay, Voracek had the same issue. Even Nolan Patrick came in with that issue. Okay, what is the deal with the training staff? And why are these guys constantly getting these quote unquote soft tissue injuries? Are they not working them hard enough? Are they not training them hard enough? Are they not conditioning them hard enough? Do they have the wrong kind of nutrition going on there? Why is this always happening?
It's the same old, the same problems they've had for years, and they don't address the real problems. They don't strip it all down and start new with new coaching staff, new everything. We've said it before, and I'm just tired of saying it at this point. They just keep doing the same stuff. 30 years of it now. It's tiresome. It really is.
So
you want to be excited about this team, and a lot of people definitely were with some of the moves that were made this year. It looked like they were actually trying to do something, you know what I mean? But when you bring in the same kind of players that are injury prone, and you bring in veterans to fill your lineup when the game is just simply not that anymore. It's about youth and spry and speed, talent, size, and speed and size. Yeah,
grinding and and then you're out there drafting guys that are 5'9", 5'8", 5'11". What? Excuse me. Wait, what? So that now the next crop of guys that are coming in, right, aren't even big enough to handle the grind, aren't big enough to handle the. I mean, look, let's face it.
Not
When you get
everybody's going
into
to be
the
Danny Briere and
you can't
survive,
exactly,
or Brad Marchand and stuff. So,
or even Claude Giroux. Claude Giroux's only 5'11". You know what I mean? On skates, I think he's 6 foot on skates. Do you know what I mean? Right. So I mean, you're not there's those guys are few and far between. Do you know what I'm saying? And now you've got a roster full of these guys that are these tweener guys that are, between the AHL and whatever, and
wondering why they're getting hurt all the time,
and wondering why they're with the same type of injury, the same type of soft tissue type injuries, the same type of, core muscle injuries and stuff like that. Why does that keep happening to the Flyers? Why? I don't hear that happening with other teams. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, and whoever I have to apologize to, I will. But like I said, I'm just calling it like I see it. I've been watching this team now. Oh my gosh. Let's see. So that's almost 30 years now. I've been watching this team now. 29 years I've been watching the team. Since 93. 29 years I've been watching this team. And I've seen some really good teams come, and I've seen some really good coaches and really great players. And I've seen this team almost hoist the cup a couple of times during my lifetime, you know what I mean? And they've come this close. But since 2010, this team hasn't even been close. Ever since that last run where they went against Chicago and lost that game, Philadelphia hasn't been anything remotely close to those teams. They've been a shell of anything remotely close to those teams. There isn't anybody even on the team that even has that kind of snarl other than Ristolainen. I mean, but he's only one guy. Yeah. There's not a team that has that. Giroux just seems like he's the only guy out there with heart. I'm not saying
him and Atkinson. Yeah, him and Atkinson are about the only two that show up every night.
I'm not saying that Provorov is not one of the best guys on the team, which he is, but he is our only defenseman who is our best defenseman. He doesn't have anybody to play with, so he's got to play 28 minutes a night. You know what I mean? I would not want to be him. I would not want to be him, man. 28 minutes a night? Are you kidding?
I don't know. I would like his salary, that's for sure.
He got a nice payday, but I mean, he needs that other guy to help to relieve the pressure. Because
we know what you mean. Yeah, I was just trying to make a
joke. So let me ask you this, Lance. Do you really think? I mean, we have to look at this realistically. We're not going to get what we want. We're not going to get what every fan on the planet wants. We're not going to get what every person from here to Jabip is who follows the Flyers, cares for the Flyers, or has anything to do with the Flyers, doesn't think that this shouldn't be burned to the ground and start over. So the reality of the thing is this. This is what we got. This is who we have. This is the general manager. This is the ownership. Now what?
Yeah, I have no clue where this team thinks they're going to be going. I really don't. I don't know how they or what they're drinking before that press conference to say that they're one or two players away from contention and being, great. They have nothing in their depth system that is at the level of a star caliber like a Giroux or to replace Giroux. They have nothing that should keep him here besides breaking records, in my mind, Flyers records. But at this point, what good is that?
Yeah, right. That doesn't get you on the name on the cup. You know what I mean?
It doesn't, and he's not getting any younger.
Nope.
I think at this point they're destroying Hart. How many good goalies have they destroyed before him? And they're doing that again to this young man. He is an amazing talent.
Yeah, I think
And
they're doing the same thing to Provorov too.
I think they're wearing him down. I'm surprised he's held up physically so far. He's a bit of an Iron Man in his own sense, and I don't think with the amount of minutes that he's playing every night that he's going to last much longer. On a consistent basis.
Exactly.
And I mean, Joel Farabee, you can see the frustration.
Yeah.
Quite a few games.
And now
ago when
he's out. Now he's out now,
Yeah.
on IR too. So
He was up there with me too. Yeah.
right, one of the leading scorers of the team, sitting on the press box. Yay!
He probably heard himself breaking a stick down the hallway coming off the ice that night. No, just kidding. But really, I mean, the frustration is there on the players that actually do care and actually do have, the talent that they need to rebuild around, and they simply aren't. I'm at a loss.
My next question for you is this. I'm with you. So my next question for you is this. They brought in John.
Yeah.
That
guy.
Oh gosh. It was just right on the tip of my tongue. Trocheck.
Sure. Sounds like a Russian mobster to me, but yeah.
Well, he was the guy that took over for when Mike Yeo was fired in Minnesota.
Right.
So they brought in another Minnesota fiery or replaced a fiery replacement they brought in, and said, hey,
recycled goods or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, we didn't make any promises for him for after this year, but we asked if he could come in and help us out, and he agreed to come in and help us out. I'm sure he did. You know what? He's working now. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I don't think it's like they said, I don't think it's a future, anything for the future in mind there, but I don't know. I don't know why they didn't fire AV sooner. You look at Bruce Boudreau, what he's doing. Of course, he doesn't have a great playoff history record, but man, he can turn a team around, and that's what the Flyers needed. And he doesn't need new pieces to do it.
You know what I mean? He's using the pieces that are already there. Hey, imagine that. Go figure.
Right.
Oh.
Making them work.
They should have never really fired Laviolette. They probably should have never fired Berube. But, like I said, this is the would have, could have, should have episode. What do we have now? Not much. Not much. Okay, so last question. All right, next to last question. Do you think that the Flyers are going to be in the lottery for the number 1 pick?
I sure hope so, but I don't know how much of a lottery it is this year. There's some good players in the first round, but
there's 4 or 5 players.
There's no, even Shane Wright, number 1 potential guy to go. He's really not having the greatest year. I mean, he's got 35 points in 28 games, 13 goals, 22 points. He's a +2. But he's no.
Hey, Lance, I would take that in a blink second and plug that into the Flyers. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but I mean, he's a sniper. He's good, but he's not the quality of player like Alexander Ovechkin. He's no Connor McDavid. He's no Patrick Kane. He's not a Sidney Crosby, as much as I don't like to say that name. He's not the guy that's going to come in and take over for Claude Giroux like we thought Nolan Patrick would do, and grab the torch and keep moving on with a team. He's going to take a year or two, and if he's forced into play, next season in the
It's still
NHL.
going to take a year or two.
I still think he's going to take a year or two to do that. He's not the guy. It's again, every time the Flyers are in this position, and they've been in that position far too many times in the past 10 years. With Van Riemsdyk, we missed out on Patrick Kane, and Nolan Patrick came around. There wasn't a whole lot that looked amazing talent. You got Cal, you got some other people from that draft that turned out to be pretty good. But now this draft, there's nobody really elite. There's some players that I like, but there's not anybody that's going to change the team as next year they're going to come in and be amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Nobody that's going to be selling out jerseys, at the Wells Fargo Center, the first game,
Yeah, I'm with you.
And a lot of these guys, Logan Cooley, Kamel, Savoy, all those guys that are 2, 3, 4 projected in the mock draft. All of them are 5'9", 5'10", the same thing we keep talking about. There is some size, but hopefully they get a right-hand shot defenseman. There's plenty of them in the first round that are good, and we definitely need a right-hand shot defenseman. But I don't think there's any game changers. I like Connor Geeky.
He's about the only one that I've really seen that
there's a guy
actually be somebody that we could get.
There's a guy from Finland that's projected pretty high. He's got an alphabet for a name. I can't really say it, but 6'4", 225 pounds.
And there's a guy from Iowa. We know.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Wasn't that awesome getting to speak to him? Last show.
Oh my gosh! Let me tell you something, guys. If this kid does anything to what he did to us, to the scouts, if he impresses those guys like he did to us, this kid, I'll tell you what, man, he's got the right attitude, the right, frame of mind. He's got, a good background. His parents are, behind him the whole 9 yards, and he's in a good place, and the kid's got some sick talent. Yeah. I mean, good gracious. This guy just has a nose for how to put the biscuit in the basket. Holy smoke. Anyway, all right, I'm sorry. But he could be one. Hey.
Well, he's there in the, he's projected in the 4th, 5th round. So, right up Chuck Fletcher's
perfect
alley.
Timing. Yeah, perfect timing for Chuck. By the way, we're talking about Connor Kruth. By the way, thank you very much for being on the show last time. Thank you very much. That kid, boy, I'll tell you, what an awesome kid. And, man, wouldn't that be great if we could. All right, I'm done dreaming now. So, any new stuff coming out soon?
Always some ideas. Yeah, always some ideas. I'm kind of interested to see where the next couple games go.
Yeah, because the break's coming up soon too.
Yeah. So I want to see something moving and shaking before the break. Really, I think some teams are going to do it. There's some talks heating up for sure. We'll see.
Yeah, because I think there isn't there a freeze during the All-Star break. I think there's a freeze for the 3 days where you can't do any trades or anything during the All-Star break or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would like to see something done sooner rather than later. But
how the heck is Kadri not in the All-Star game for Colorado?
Well, how is it that Colorado just didn't send their whole team?
Yeah.
Right. They have everybody there to do a whole line.
Yeah.
Right. Seriously. And I'll tell you what, I watched the game last night against Boston. Man, that Colorado team is the real freaking deal. And I watched.
Did you see the Calgary game? I think they had 65 shots on Columbus or something. Like,
well,
good grief.
But the game last night with Boston and Colorado, and then watching McKinnon get opened up by his stick. Oh man, that just. What was really sad is you got to see the slow motion of his stick basically just caving in his face. You know what I mean? And I believe that was the correct call where they rescinded the 5-minute major because it wasn't a malicious hit. It wasn't, it was basically they were trying to hit each other. They knew they were going to hit each other. It just was unfortunate that dude got his stick up and he got cacked in the face with his stick. Just one of those things. I do think it was an interference call, so I think the penalty was correct, but I don't think it was a major call. But, man, I tell you what, man, that Colorado team is the real deal. Well, they were down 3-1. They had 2 shots in the first period alone. That's it, 2 shots.
So speaking of Colorado, they're one of the teams that are rumored to be looking at Claude Giroux.
Which is why I brought up Colorado, because they also have some capability of doing said, of bringing in Claude Giroux. And holy smokes, could you imagine Claude Giroux on Colorado? Could you imagine him on Boston? How about Pittsburgh?
I think he's more likely to be shipped to Colorado rather than somebody.
Wait, hold on. One last one. The New York Rangers.
I don't think he goes in the Metro.
Ugh.
That would be hard.
Ugh. But realistically, those are the teams that could take him cap space wise.
Yeah, I mean the Flyers can always retain salary too, and that's
they're going to have to. They've already paid him. They're already past 42 games, so they've already paid half his salary already. So they're gonna have to eat the other half of what's remaining.
You can. Why not? Like if you're gonna get something back,
$2 million.
If you're gonna eat some salary to get some players back, they're potentially a first round pick.
I'd be donning the napkin and breaking out the fork and the knife.
But I mean, yeah, you look. Colorado knows how to draft. They've drafted some great kids, and if you can go in and
man up there, boy.
Yeah, if you can go in and steal some of his NHL ready prospects, in order to go out and get Giroux, why not? Get rid of him and start the rebuild.
Exactly. Well, Lance, I'll tell you what, my man, I think we got a really good one here. It's I hate to say that we're not trying to be negative people here. We want this team to win. We care about this team. That's why we're so passionate about this team. That's why Lance writes these articles. That's why we have this show, because we have this passion for this team. And a lot of you guys do too, and that's great, and we love it. And thank you guys very much for your support. We really appreciate that. We wouldn't be here without you guys watching us and everything like that. I mean, it's really great. We really appreciate the feedback. We really appreciate the support from Flyers Nitty Gritty. All of that support, very much appreciate that as well, too. So thank you very much for that. But we care about this team. We want to see this team win. And we're not trying to be as negative as I guess we come across sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say that, that's why we do these. That's why we say this, because we care about this team. We want to see the fans enjoying games. We want to see people high-fiving each other after goals and, enjoying a great hockey game in Philadelphia. And that's just not the case. And it's just not going to be that way for a little while. And we just are sad to see that go. So with that, my man, tell us where we can find you, where we can get you, and where we can read all your great stuff, my man.
Sure. As always, my stuff is posted to flyersnittygritty.com. It's can be found on steelflyers.com. It can be usually found on bleacherreport.com. Twitter, I'm on Twitter. I answer questions both on that and Facebook. Different Flyers groups on there as well. I'm on pretty much all of them. Hit me up. On Twitter, I'm at LNGBASSIST. The number's 39.
All right. The beat writer extraordinaire for the Philadelphia Flyers at flyersnittygritty.com. Yeah, buddy. Thank you very much for 2 great articles this week. And I am Steel Flyers. You can catch me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. I'm also on the web at SteelFlyers.com, where you can enjoy all the great shows from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, from Pearl of Wisdom to Off the Wall Hockey to the Hockey Writers Inc. to the JB and Steel Show. All of us out there doing all that great work for you guys out there. Thank you very much. We will catch you all on the next episode.